Hello, this is Leslie Stretch, CEO of Calidus Cloud, and you're listening to the Middle Market Thought Leader podcast.
This is episode 113.
Hi, I'm Jack Sweeney, and you're listening to the Middle Market Thought Leader podcast, where we speak to middle market business leaders about how they're growing their businesses. Most small companies stay small. Most big companies grow slowly. The middle market is where growth resides.
In this episode, we speak to Julie Strong, CEO of C1S, a construction engineering firm based in Dallas, Texas.
Our firms that we compete with typically are, significantly larger. We are smaller, a little more agile, a little less overhead, and that's the way we like it. Growth just for the growth's sake is not really in our plan, but we can compete better in a $1 to $5 to $10 million project range than some of the big guys can. Just it's difficult for them to be competitive at that size, and we found that to be sort of our sweet spot.
Listen to our complete interview with Julie after these words from our sponsor.
U.S. Bank has an alternative for spelling impossible. It's I'm possible. When you work with U.S. Bank, you gain more than a financial services provider. You gain a trusted partner who understands your challenges and helps you to see what's possible. U.S. Bank's expertise in helping clients manage cash flow, combined with its comprehensive payment solutions and outstanding customer service, make U.S. Bank a perfect strategic partner for your middle market business. U.S. Bank, the power of possible. Learn more at usbpayment.com/middle market.
Hello, we're speaking to Julie Strong, CEO of C1S, a construction and engineering firm based in Dallas. Julie, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So it's good to catch up with you. I know that there are a few facts here that were supplied to us. Inc. magazine recently named C1S a top 50 best places to work in the U.S. That's got to be a pretty elite group. And you've been, of course, on the Inc. 5000 list a number of times. Julie, we'd love for you to just give us a short history of the firm to start with.
Sure. The company was started in 2001 by my husband, Matt Strong, who's a professional engineer. And it started, typically like most do, with one guy in a small sublet office space, just cranking out engineered design drawings. And then over the next 5 years grew, probably added 4 or 5 or 6 people through that time, and our clients really appreciated the way we served, did what we did, and they started asking us to start building some of our designs, which we didn't do construction prior to that point, but with the right relationships, we were able to start taking on some construction activities, and over the years, we've built our construction business from, 0 to about $18 million a year, and our engineering business, from one guy to 8 folks and doing about $1.5 million a year.
All right. So I saw also visiting your site, you've recently brought on an HR director. Anytime we see that, it sort of signals that your workforce must be expanding as well. Can you give us a sense of how big the firm is today?
Yeah, we have about 30 folks on staff now, and we probably need another 6 for what we think we're going to do in the next 6 to 8 months. And for us, our recruiting process is just chronic. It's hard for us to find the right people that do what we do and fit with our culture. We're really careful about who we bring on board. Want to make sure it's a good fit, not just for their skill set, but for the way we like to deliver what we do and for our culture. We work really hard, and life's too short to work on something you don't enjoy or with folks you don't enjoy doing it with. And so we're pretty protective of that process, and it just takes a really dedicated effort. So, yeah, the HR director came on, and she's been a huge help.
Now, is this a family-owned company today?
It is. My husband, Matt, and I still own it. So we're a women-owned business, so I have the majority, but it's still owned just by my husband and myself.
Around the Dallas area, what would you tell us? What's the competitive landscape like for the types of services you offer today?
It's all over the map. There's a lot of growth in Dallas, a lot of construction activity, and upstream of construction is always engineering. So There's a lot of opportunity, a lot of new construction. That's not really the area that we excel in. What we focus on is the existing building market. There's so much going on in Dallas where if you try to do every opportunity or try to pursue every lead that you got, you would be, jack of all trades but master of none. We really want to focus on being excellent at a smaller scale of stuff. And so we really focus on the existing building market and really focus within that market on industrial and manufacturing clients.
Now, did you sort of niche down, or was that always the business strategy to sort of not be the construction firm you go to when you want to build a building? They come to you when they want to enhance that building.
Yeah, well, when we started, like most startups, you're driven a lot by fear and where's the next job coming from, and we kind of would do anything anyone asked us to do, and you're okay at that for a little while, but as jobs get more complicated, it's hard to build processes around doing everything. And if you're going to really dial in and be excellent and stand out somewhere, we felt like we really had to focus on a smaller subset of the whole construction engineering market. And there are millions and millions of built square foot office and commercial and manufacturing and industrial facilities in DFW, and then, of course, you expand that outward. I mean, the built environment is 99% of the facilities that exist. There's 1% new coming online, even though there's cranes all over. It's 1% new. And so for us, the opportunity was to say, why don't we get great at this little world? It's complicated, and it's not everybody's favorite. You got to deal with what's there. You can't just scrape it and put in everything brand new. So it's complicated, and it's got its nuances, but it's a world where we excel in. It takes a lot of communication and coordination. So we really sort of identified that probably 5 years ago and said, hey, we can't be everything to everybody. We need to focus where we're great at, and we're great at this piece right here. And so it was pretty strategic for us, and it really was a relief to us to kind of let go of saying, we'll build anything you say. If it's retail shell or residential or multifamily or office building, it was a relief to kind of say, no, we don't do all that. We just do this, and we do it really, really well.
It seems like you have a really strong emphasis on culture or the workforce, and it would seem to me as that might be a little unusual in the construction space, or correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think you're right. And so to that point, we are just 30. We're not a construction company. We don't self-perform. So we don't have a whole, deep crew of folks who actually do the installations of, the mechanical or the electrical or architectural or drywall. We just manage that. And so for us, our leverage is our ability to find great people who can bring the solution together and deliver results. And these are high caliber folks who kind of, they've got choices in their career, and for us to attract that level of talent, we've got to be a great place to work where really high performing, successful professionals in the construction and engineering field want to make a living, want to build their career. So that's what it's come into being. I came to C1S after a long time at TD Industries, which has been on the Fortune 100 list of best companies to work for every year that the list has been in existence. So I learned a lot from that company, learned a lot about their leadership style, and I learned a lot about, HR and people practices and building a culture based on trust. And so to me, that came pretty naturally. And when we started executing, we were doing too much to not trust the person sitting next to us. And so when everybody sort of pull on the same team and trusting each other, working hard, and then you start having some success together and you start building on that, it just keeps feeding itself. And you can tell when you get someone in your organization who doesn't feed on that kind of, hey, we're all in this together, let's pull this together, and we'll make this happen because we're all the best in the business. You can tell when someone comes in that doesn't quite fit that mentality. And so we end up sort of attracting like-minded folks and sort of repelling folks who may not fit that culture, that are in it a little more for personal glory or in it a little more for just the financial gain. We built a culture sort of that's really inclusive of, teamwork, trust, relationships, And these aren't good old boy relationships. These are value-driven relationships. We really want to bring value to our clients, and also from me as leadership of the company and everybody on our leadership team, we want to bring value to our employees because they have choices. I always say they don't work for C1S. They work for themselves. And if we're not a great place for them to do what they do, they'll take their talent and their strength and their commitment and their energy to someone else. And what a loss that would be. So for us, taking care of our folks and being a great place to work is just fundamental to how we deliver the excellent service that we want to deliver.
What does it mean in terms of attrition? I'm wondering about other construction firms in your weight class of company, whether you suspect their employee attrition might be higher?
Some of them, we are interviewing sort of chronically. We don't just sort of on-demand hire, so we're constantly, mining the local market and even outside of DFW. And we see a lot of the same company names that people spend, a couple years there. And it's, some of them are bigger and they execute work a different way. And so it's a place to kind of get your footing in the industry, but it's not a place where people stay a long time. So I feel like our attrition rates are lower. Our retention, generally speaking, in our short 15-year history is higher than the industry average. And again, we're looking at sort of a cadre of professionals from the construction and engineering world that for them to build a career, they're sitting in a sort of a sweet spot with a company that's got a lot of room for them to move up, which I want us to be a, good, strong, leaderful organization. People who are here now will have different roles in 2 or 3 years, and I hope the folks that come in here see that and see that there's sort of some long-term personal growth available for them here.
Who are your competitors today, and are there are the firms much larger than you that you find yourself competing against?
They are. So for us in the construction and engineering, and when you put those two together, you get design build. So that offering is a little bit smaller, but our firms that we compete with typically are, significantly larger. And we found ourselves sort of in a sweet spot based on project size that some of the big guys just can't be as competitive as we are. We are smaller, a little more agile, a little less overhead, and that's the way we like it. So we don't have any visions of growing up to be a huge, Fluor Daniel or McKinstry or Burns and Mac. We want to, do what we do best at the size that suits us best, and so growth just for the growth's sake is not really in our plan, but we can compete better in a $1 to $5 to $10 million project range than some of the big guys can. Just it's difficult for them to be competitive at that size, and we found that to be sort of our sweet spot.
So can you share with us a growth obstacle that the company encountered and has had to address along the way?
Yeah, for us, growing from there's a couple things. Growing from being, a company run by, Matt Strong and Julie Strong to being a company run by 6 people where we are now, that was a transition that took a little getting our head around. We just couldn't envision what that company looked like, but it was so necessary. We were not gonna grow with our former leadership structure. So that took some doing to kind of get our head around what does this team look like and what are the strengths we need on this team and who are these people that we need to help guide this company where we want to take it. And we had to be really intentional about that and have, significant amount of faith and trust in each other that we were all going to be as committed as the next to get it done. So that leadership structure change was a big deal. And then the other one is sort of your typical managing your capacity, the theory of constraints, right? Whereas you free up, you make some capacity here, you create a bottleneck somewhere else. And so chronically having the bandwidth to manage your capacity, whether it's your sales capacity, and you get that up to speed, and then it generates more sales, and now you've got a production bottleneck, so you've got to build your production capacity, and you hire more people, and you get more stuff done, and now all of a sudden you need more office space, and you need a bigger, financial management system, and you need a controller to handle all the money that's moving in and out of the organization. Just that if we had a crystal ball that could say where we'd like to be in 10 years and we could just plan for that really proactively and really carefully, that would be ideal. But we just keep taking these steps in the right direction, and growth is incremental, and you have to just keep chasing those bottlenecks down and trying to knock them out of the way so that you can keep building capacity. And it can't just be any old engineer that you get. It's got to be someone that does what you do. And so again, our focusing on this market that we focused on sort of help limits a little bit the candidates that are going to be successful in our world. Not everybody wants to do what we do, and so we've got to. It creates some interesting challenges. But once you know you've sort of threaded that needle, those are real victories for a middle market company our size, when we really feel like we got some traction on this new strategic initiative or some traction on a new direction or a new service offering. When you get to take those steps, when you really realize you've accomplished something, knocked down something, and created something new, those are really moments of real gratification for everybody in the company, but especially on the leadership team.
Just regarding the leadership team, you mentioned the controller. Could you step back in time with us? When in terms of growth, was it felt necessary to make sure you had a controller or a more senior finance executive on board?
Well, it was probably 4 years ago, really. And again, this is about the leadership shift. My husband and I were running the deal. He was sort of strategy and engineering, and I was operations. And as you get bigger, I was, working all-nighters doing, invoicing and paying AP bills. And, I've got a psychology degree. I was certainly not playing to my strengths at all. Didn't know what I was doing, and we didn't have good visibility on our financials, so we really couldn't plan very well. We couldn't see how and where we were going to grow. For a lot of reasons, it became really clear that we needed to bring someone in that had that expertise, but it's just that jump from, this is Matt and Julie's company to, no, this is C1S, and it deserves and needs more expertise than we have. And it's time for Julie to stop acting like she can do all these things better than anyone else. There are people that are way more qualified to do this, and freeing me up to do other things is really, that's leverage for this company. And so finding those, that's one of those aha moments when you realize someone else has a strength that you don't as much as you think you're the best at it. Letting go of that and letting someone else really do that, it's been, that's been one of the biggest aha moments for us in the last 3 years was seeing what happens when you really have visibility on your financials and your cash flow, and you can project and you can plan and you can budget. It sounds silly, but up until then, we really were pretty cash basis year by year. We put some numbers on paper, but we weren't really minding our growth and minding the money it took to grow, and we couldn't see it. Just didn't have the systems in place to have it. So that was about the $10 million mark for us, about 20 people, $10 million, and realizing that I was not serving the organization by keeping those things under my watch.
So you've grown organically to date. Will acquisitions someday become part of the strategy?
I think that's possible. I think really we serve really well in the DFW North Texas market. So I think acquisitions would really be more to expand geographically, not just service offering. It would have to be, we really want a presence in, Austin or Colorado. But for us, again, our vision is not just to grow for growth's sake, other than to provide a great opportunity for us to keep doing what we do and serve our clients better. So there would have to be more than a compelling reason to just pick up and grow outside of what we, outside of our strong suit and our base right here.
So is it likely that you will move beyond the Dallas-Fort Worth market as your clients encourage you to do so and serve them in other markets?
Yeah, we have built a wonderful relationship with, a couple really, our sweet spot in terms of client, when we look at them psychographically, geographically, and the kind of business they run, it tends to be, someone like a Pepsi or a Frito that's got their local headquarters here, but they've got millions of square feet all over the U.S. It's pretty easy to serve them on the engineering front anywhere they are, because we can travel, go look at their facility, give them some designs, coordinate some of that. But the work actually happens here in Dallas. Construction, like you said, that's the big one. That's where you got to put boots on the ground. And for us, if anybody's working on our job site, we are there with them. And so that becomes the balance of, okay, we need to serve this client, and they've asked us to do it, and they want us to do it, but we also want to be a great place to work, and relocating our folks to Tampa, Florida for 6 months and having them commute back and forth is probably not the best quality of life for them. However, can you hire a local person in Tampa, Florida that you don't know very well and trust them to deliver the way we want to deliver? So that's where it gets sticky for us. But we're expanding our capability. We're building processes to be licensed in other states. And, you know, there are a lot of folks, there are not a lot, there are some folks who enjoy the opportunity to travel for their work in a reasonable amount. And so we're working on building a staff of sort of travelers that want to take those opportunities and don't mind the commute, whether it's, you know, Monday through Friday or Sunday to Thursday or however that works for them, and then they come home to be able to execute for our strategic clients in places outside of our hub. It gets into you have to expand all your administrative services, right? You got payroll taxes now in another state, and you've got tax filings to do in other states, and all the other that goes with it. So you know, you have to grow administratively too to handle that. Otherwise, the tail kind of wags the dog on those opportunities, and they just yank your machine around. So investing in out-of-state work for us, it's not like we'll just do Tennessee. If we're going to do a state, we're going to do, you know, we're going to say that that's what we do. We're not quite there, but we're ready to, you know, start putting some things in place to start taking steps with, you know, good strategic clients to serve in locations outside of Dallas. But it's a big undertaking, and like I said, the construction side of it, all the risk and insurance and tax and you know, for a company our size, we don't have that expertise in-house right now. That's something we have to hire for.
Thought Leader listeners, don't go anywhere. We're about to ask our guest for their middle market business priorities over the next 12 months. But first, permit us 30 seconds to thank our sponsor. Does your finance department remain bogged down in the trenches, using spreadsheets to accomplish complex accounting and finance tasks? This is no way to operate a modern finance organization. Blackline has the solution. A finance and accounting end-to-end platform. It's finance, controls, and automation. It's time to reinvest your people's time in high-value activities and enter the age of modern finance. Check out a no-hassle free demo at blackline.com/CFO.
Our final question. Over the next 12 months, what are your priorities when it comes to growing this middle market firm?
Our priorities for the next 12 months are to build our engineering and construction teams to handle the growth we expect through 2018. So right now is a really booming economy for us here, and we can't take everything that's offered to us because we can't do it all well. We'd rather under-promise and over-deliver than the opposite. So for us right now, recruiting and training, building our capacity doesn't mean just adding new people. It also means training the people we have and providing new skills and possibly new resources, whether those are IT or other kinds of resources that help them do what they do better. So really digging in on our foundational offering, which is just our people. We don't sell any product. We just sell our services. And so if we've got more work to do, we can't just ask these people to do more. They've got to have more resources to do it. So for us, that's our bottleneck, is finding the right people to do what we do and help us grow for the next 2 or 3 years and see where we are, you know, in 2018.
Julie Strong, thank you for joining us on Middle Market Thought Leader.
Thank you, Jack.
Hello, it's Jack Sweeney. The risk of cyber attack for a middle market business these days is real. The best way to ensure your business is protected against cyber threats is to stay educated on current attacks. Implement policies and processes designed to minimize risk and exposure and to maintain a high state of awareness within your business. To help protect your middle market business, Middle Market Thought Leader, along with its partner, U.S. Bank, has established a data security best practices library designed to help your company respond to a growing number of cyber threats. To sharpen your firm's response, access our data security library under the Resources tab at middlemarketexecutive.com. Be sure to check back each week as we add new resources to better protect your business.